Girl and boys, there have been a lot of changes with EU5 and a ton of development diaries that have been coming out. That's right, we have the first two development diaries, not Tinto Talks anymore. So we actually get to see exactly what the features look like right now. The development team goes into details about things, and more importantly, we actually have our first sneak peek at the 1770 map of Europa Universalis 5, where we see a lot of information that we're going to be breaking down first before we go into anything else. Now, I also have a little bit of a request, guys. If you haven't yet pre-ordered EU5 or you're thinking about getting any game from Paradox, consider using my link in description. It would help out the channel massively. I get a commission on anybody who uses that link to purchase anything from the website, and you can redeem a Steam key that you can use on Steam afterwards. Thank you for considering it. Even if you don't use it, at least considering it means a lot to me. So let's dive straight into it, shall we? Now, I have to say the second development diary is an absolute treat, but the real juice happened actually a while back. We've got, guys, our very first sneak peek at some changes with the HRE map first off. Then we see some updates to the political map also, or I mean better yet, the terrain map, not the political map. A lot more well-defined mountains, better defined textures. I think it's pretty well shown here with the city of Constantinople and Chalcedonia on the other side of the Straits of Marmara. And more importantly, guys, this is the very first time we see the 1770 map for Europa Universalis 5. Now, whoever played this campaign played as the Byzantines, I would assume. You can see here that they managed to conquer most of the Balkans. They managed to grab hold of most of the surrounding areas around the Black Sea, as well as half of Anatolia, or let's say 70% of Anatolia. They didn't really grow into this area much, so I'm assuming those are what's left of the Turkish Beyliks. Why is this map so important though? I think this is really beautiful from a few perspectives. First off, we see that expansion is a lot more difficult, I would assume, considering that they've only gotten most of the Balkans and 3/4 of Anatolia by 1770. So they completely nerfed expansion, or whoever played simply played toll, let's say, right? Could be one of the options too here. Now, the second thing that's really important is that they have 23 million population in this particular area as the Byzantines. That means that population modifiers have been changed as well, and I'm assuming that the plague doesn't affect the world as much. We already know from a previous dev diary that the plague has been significantly altered. So, for example, certain areas of the world will have some types of resistance, will lose less population to the plague, and overall it's just been a little bit less brutal as it was before. Another thing to point out is that we see a lot of the hotspots for population on the map here. So we got mostly the coastline of Anatolia and the eastern coastline of the Greek areas, as well as, of course, Constantinople and such, having predominantly super green, which means there's a lot of population in there, whilst the rest of this is not much population. We have also in the same dev diary population growth illustrated in Lubiks, which is in Poland. We see there's a population growth of 0.10 due to rural settlement location rank. Prosperity affects this. Having cheap food in there increases the population growth. Free land available and large food storage in province. So that means having a high amount of food or excess food will, up to a certain amount, increase your population growth, which is really, really significant. There was also a development diary on Portugal, which is really interesting. The main highlights are that the Portuguese have about 32 starting base tax, 1.3 million population, 67 locations, and 18,000 possible levies, which is quite significant. We see the map of Portugal with all the different fortifications, and I really adore the fact that you see properly now the fortifications on the map. That's a really important change in my opinion. Same goes, the terrain map is a lot better off than it was before, and we see a lot of changes to the UI as we progress in the development diaries. We'll go through that too. On the 3rd of September, Pavia posted about the Colombian exchange, which is honestly really, really awesome development diary. So basically, to sum all of this up, you have the option of importing goods from the old world to the new one and vice versa. So what they've done basically is they've divided the goods in two categories. You've got goods of the new world and goods of the old world, depending on where they're present when the situation fires, namely the Colombian exchange, which is a situation unto itself. Remember, guys, that modern goods, most of the modern goods that we use are actually actually from the New World. So during the Columbian Exchange is when we managed to import all of these goods from the New World into the Old World. I'm talking tomatoes are from the New World, potatoes are from the New World, watermelons, pumpkins, cucumbers, corn, a lot of goods that we use nowadays, a lot of veggies and such are from the New World. Here's how the situation works. You've got two options. You can spread a New World good or an Old World good. You have the goods of the New World, which right now are chocolate or cocoa, I believe, some type of spice. I'm not sure what that is. Corn, potatoes, and these are goods of the Old World. The cost for spreading these goods is money and prestige. Now, the thing is, this can be really, really good. Even though it costs money and prestige, being the only producer of, I don't know, potatoes or corn in the Old World could really make you filthy rich as consequence, or vice versa, bringing some Old World goods to the New World, making you have a monopoly on that would be really nice. Although having a monopoly would be really difficult because literally anybody could just spread that whenever they want, right? Raw materials in the selected location will change to the new one, opening up a different economic gameplay loop, allowing you to plant highly demanded goods in the New World, which could be exploited via plantations and slabs, whilst also allowing the plantation of goods such as potatoes in Europe. They mentioned that they have actually investigated the real spread of each trade good that can be exchanged, so you can only grow its accurate geographical distribution, which also takes into account the terrain feature, climate, vegetation, topography, meaning you cannot plant rice in the Alps or wine in certain climates. That makes a lot of sense. It's also very logical. It's also why Ireland's going to be full of potatoes in pretty much all your campaigns. You can admit to me, I know you're going to make Ireland a potato paradise. Everybody's aware of that. So it costs 5 prestige and 100 gold to spread a New World good. I'd say that's a fair price though. You have the options here: cocoa, maize, potato, and tobacco. Oh, that's tobacco. Why did that look like some type of spice to me? Here's the locations that you have where you can choose. So quite a few locations actually, but not all the locations, that's for sure. You see the report here: Castile has spread a New World good. You are now producing maize or corn, whatever you want to call it. This has an impact that decreases prosperity when it has arrived, and also decreases maximum laborers by a certain amount too. Similarly, spreading an Old World good is exactly the same amount of cost. We see here all of the Old World stuff: cotton, horses, olives, rice, sturdy grains, sugar, wheat, and wine. And you have locations available where you could actually do that. You cannot, again, do it in every New World location, just in a certain amount of locations. This is what it looks like. It increases maximum laborers. Okay, I'm curious what determines that actually, because I'm not sure what determines that. And also we've got colonial revolutions, guys. That's right. Why not spread to the New World, have half of your population migrate there, and then lose that when they become their own independent nation? That's going to be interesting. Of course, you want to avoid colonial revolutions, and they will trigger very late in the campaign, so only 1% of the player base is likely going to see this. But here's what it looks like right now. We have laws here. We got colonial representation, and you have no representation or representation in parliament. What was that saying? Taxation without representation? I think that was the saying, wasn't it? So without representation, you get loyalty to overlord -20, and you have parliament abolished. That is pretty bad. Parliament is so overpowered, it's crazy. So you got an unruly colony, and it lowers stability, as well as you get the colonial revolution situation. So it's an entire situation unto itself. That is really, really cool. You know what? I actually like this. For late game, obviously, when the game's about to finish regardless, having this kind of situation spices things up. It makes it more interesting to play into the late game to see how it all ends up. Heck, you might even play yourself as the New World colony, revolt against your old nation that you were playing as before, and become a better nation, right? You have a few options here. Grant representation to colonial subjects, so you just fix the issue straight up. Establish Goods Act, aid colonial war efforts, give colony rebellion support. We see the loyalty of New Spain to Castile is 32.51%, and that is because they got no representation. They have good opinion of the overlord though, so that's that. And then the Age of Revolutions also gives a loyalty -30, which is crazy. So you get instantly -50 loyalty from your subjects if you are in the Age of Revolutions and you don't have representation. You got to make sure you make up for that by giving them representation, right? We see here example of some of the nations: Viceroyalty of Cayacoa, Havana, and New Spain. And if you do give them representation, it flips the whole situation. You get loyalty to overlord, so you can go from -50 to only -10 in the Age of Revolutions from the Age of Revolutions modifier itself. Here's what the same situation looks like from the POV of the subject. You have the ability to seek support of Overlord's rival, declare independence war, create colonial federation, join a colonial federation, or give colony rebellion support. The Colonial Federation is an international organization, basically an alliance. You are able to invite new members. You have assured defense, possible offense. So if anybody attacks a member of the Federation, all the Federation members will help each other out. And now we end up at the juiciest of all of the development diaries, because these are officially development diaries presented by Ryagi himself, and it revolves around some of the more important aspects of the game. So pay close attention, because this really is important. We're talking about government, politics, and estate. He mentions that with EU5, their vision is to move beyond simple flat mechanics and instead create a living world where every choice matters. I love that. I absolutely love that. That is honestly the kind of game that you can immerse yourselves for weeks on end in one save game and still have fun all the way till the late game, till the late part of the campaign. That's what I want from EU5. That genuinely is what I want, and I'm sure that most of the development team is literally on the same page with it. From balancing societal values and managing parliamentary debates to keeping your state satisfied and navigating diplomatic intrigue, you'll be challenged to guide your nation through triumphs and crises alike. He also mentions he cannot wait to hear your thoughts, ideas, and feedback as we draw closer to EU5's release date. So make sure you go on the forums, let them know. That is by far the best way of informing the development team on what you want to see from the game itself. Then we start talking about the crown. That is you. That's right. You are the crown. You are basically the crown of whatever country you're playing as, and then you have the estates that work alongside your side, right? And there's different types of governments, as you would imagine. This is an updated map of Europe in 1337. So we have all the monarchies over here, which is the predominant type of government in Europe at the time. We got some republics predominantly in North Italy, as well as some sprinkle of republics around the Holy Roman Empire. Also in the north, we have all the way up there Novgorod and Pskov as the only republics in East Europe. Well, that is if we don't include the Genoese, because the Genoese also have these tiny little dots here in Azov and whatever the schnitzel that one's called. That's part of Genoa. Did I say Venice earlier? I meant Genoa. Anyway, so these are the republics. We also have the Ahis Republic, which is a Turkic Beylik, well, Turkic Republic, I guess you could say. It's right next to the Ottomans. You can see a little bit over yonder. You don't even know how to show this, but you see it in the corner of the map there. And then more importantly, we have some interesting things going on in Ireland, because quite a bit of Ireland is chiefdoms. Half of it, or roughly half, is monarchies. The other half, or a little bit more, is chiefdoms. And we also have more chiefdoms in the Circassian lands, as well as around the future Kara Koyunlu lands, I guess you could say, the Kurdish areas of the world. Aside from that, we also have theocracies. The papacy is a theocracy. Some theocracies around Austria, a lot of them around the HRE, including the holy orders of the Livonians and the Teutonic Order, which are also theocracies, and all of their little subjects are also theocracies, most of them anyway. There's also a big green thing here that is a steppe horde. So the steppe horde is a unique government reform that the hordes start with, as you would imagine. And that basically shows all the governments in Europe. Ryagi mentions governments are not static. Over the course of your campaign, you'll see nations evolve in response to both internal and external factors. So what may start as a monarchy will likely become, or there's a possibility it will become a republic or some other type of government in the campaign as you progress. There's also a new character system with EU5. Characters represent different estates of your nation and play active roles in shaping your government. We see here some characters can become cabinet members, and we have a few options. So when it comes to it, if you don't like one cabinet member, you can always replace them. The way it works with cabinets is you've got 3 types of skills: diplomatic, admin, and military, and each type of skill influences a different cabinet action. So you want, for example, someone with high diplomatic skill to do certain actions and somebody else with high military skill to do other actions, but you don't want to assign them to to do an action that requires high military when he has low military, because that would be inefficient. It would take him significantly longer to finish that particular action. Characters will be used for everything. You have characters leading your armies as generals. You have characters that you use to conduct diplomacy. You can marry and get alliances. You can, obviously, you have a character that is your king and your royal family. So yes, characters in EU5 are a lot more important than they were in EU4, that's for sure. It's not just a static name. Now, the cabinet itself is one of the most important things in the game. You will use your cabinet to do pretty much everything that makes your country work, in essence. So there's a lot of passive things that affect your countries in EU5, and there's some things that actively change your country. One of the things that changes your country, well, the main thing that changes your country is cabinet action. So you got cabinet actions that convert cultures, that convert religions, or sorry, assimilate cultures, convert religions. Cabinet actions that integrate a province, so that means it makes it into a core province. You use your cabinet for everything. So the more cabinet slots you have, the better off you are. Most nations start with 2 cabinet seats at the start of the campaign. We see whoever this is has 4 seats. You will be able to get more cabinet members from government reforms, from advances, from the variety of things could possibly give you more cabinet seats. It is very dependent on every nation onto itself. Some nations start with 3 cabinet members from the beginning. Some would even have the ability to get 4, like the Ottomans from pretty much the first few years. And the more cabinet members, the more powerful your nation will be, because the more interactions you can do at the same time that would really shape the world around you. That's why, in my opinion, cabinet is insanely powerful. So getting cabinet efficiency, which speeds up the speed of whatever action they're doing, as well as cabinet seats, is highly crucial in a EU5 campaign. We see here, for example, this particular cabinet member is strengthening government. What does that mean? It means that he is increasing the legitimacy of the government by 0.47, which is a huge amount. So this is affected by his military skill. We see that the strengthening government is a military action. We see from the little icon here, having an advisor with high military, like this guy, he's got 96 military skill, will increase the efficiency of strengthening government. So that's why we're getting 0.47. We also have the cabinet efficiency that plays into this. If we were to assign someone that had, I don't know, 20 military to a strengthening government, it probably would be somewhere around 50%. So you would probably get like 0.3 legitimacy rather than 0.47. Similarly, integrating Spoleto is a military action. It requires military points, and you get 2.17 integration modifier, which is also affected by a few other things, not just the diplomatic skill. And we also have development of Terra di Lavoro. So that increases the development of that particular location by 0.0050, which is basically nothing, but the truth is, it is really powerful still. Okay, it might seem like it's nothing, but 0.050 is a lot actually, because normally it would be increasing development by very little, like half of that you would increase it with most advisors. But this guy is 99 admin, and this is an admin interaction right here. Now, the development of a location influences everything. The higher development, the better everything works. You really want provinces that have super high development, because that will be the most efficient province in your country. However, in most cases, you're gonna want to either increase legitimacy or increase your stability. If you're the Byzantines, you want to integrate areas that you've conquered, maybe convert them to your religion if they're not your religion yet, or assimilate them to your culture. So having someone developing a province, although developing is amazing, is likely not going to happen unless you just have extra cabinet members. So because he's got 4 cabinet members, he definitely can afford to have at least one of them on developing that particular province, which is huge. You also can have one of your cabinet members as the head of cabinet. What does that mean? It means that he's going to have increased efficiency in cabinet. He will not be able to lead armies or navies, and he cannot be removed from cabinet. Wow, he's actually giving 0.21 stability, which again, stability is a military action, as you can see over here. That's huge. I'll be honest, that is very, very massive. 0.21. Usually I was getting like 0.09 when I was playing as the Byzantines with a really decent advisor, so that's actually pretty good. So I also want to mention they've made some UI changes here. They've made a little bit of coloring. For example, the icons here are colored differently. Also, in the integration of Spoleto, this advisor is prime minister. That's why he's getting 117 efficiency with about the same amount of military points as the other cabinet members have. He's getting that extra 20 something from being the head of cabinet, which turns him into the prime minister minister if it's a republic in this particular instance. We see, for example, the cabinet efficiency in Ashikaga is influenced by your age, so meritocracy gives 5. Royal court, royal marriage right, which is a privilege. Religious advisory council, another privilege. Manorial courts reduces the efficiency. Crown power is low, which also reduces the efficiency. The higher your crown power, the more efficient everything is, the better off you are as a nation with higher crown power. But at the start of the campaign, crown power is going to be really difficult to get. You're going to slowly build up your crown power, as most nations, with some exceptions of course, as you progress in the campaign. Some nations start with really decent crown power, but it's very rare to see that, right? Most nations have like almost no crown power or very little, and in the 1400s and afterwards you slowly start building that up as you progress, even faster if you're lucky. Now we see also 80% cabinet efficiency later in the campaign, so this is much later. It's in the 6th age at the very least, because we have the rights of man, which is an advance from the 6th age. We have meritocracy, the age 1 advance, rise of great individuals, the age 2 advance, and then we also have the Canterbury Council. Crown power is high, which is why we have 18% increase in cabinet efficiency, and we have a specific law, continuous operation, which increases by 5% also your cabinet efficiency. So this is in 1784 compared to 1337. So you go from 20% cabinet efficiency to 80% cabinet efficiency in about 300 to 400 years, which is a significant amount of change. Next up is societal values. What are societal values? Well, it's very straightforward. This is how your country is defined. You have 2 spectrums of your societal values: decentralized, centralized, serfdom, free peasants, and whichever side you go towards, you get more or less of specific benefits. So we have here centralization, which at maximum it will give crown power plus 50%, proximity cost minus 10, counter espionage, control importance modifier, maximum war exhaustion plus 3, whilst decentralization at maximum will give these particular modifiers. That being said, your slider is never going to be at maximum, especially not at the start. It will likely be at maximum at the end of the campaign or towards the end of the campaign if you focus a lot on it, or you can do it early too if you have one of your cabinet members helping you out. So you have the option of asking a cabinet member to specifically focus on getting you closer to a certain part of a value. So you can have a cabinet member on, say, centralization. You from now on will only focus on bringing us closer to centralizing our kingdom, right? It will take years. Centralization is absolutely the way to go. At the start of the campaign, most nations start very decentralized. However, as you can see, the difference is important here, because sure, estate satisfaction early on is pretty good and maximum war exhaustion is okay, but what you really want is that extra proximity cost reduction, control importance modifier, and the crown power. These 3 modifiers are insanely overpowered. The maximum war exhaustion doesn't really make much of a difference because you're not going to be at war for too many years. You're going to peace out way before you hit the max war exhaustion. Similar to counter espionage, doesn't make much of a difference at all. See another value here, mysticism compared to jurisprudence. So mysticism increases morale of armies, pop conversion speed, clergy satisfaction equilibrium plus 10%, which is good because it means you can tax your clergy by up to 10% more than you were able before, whilst jurisprudence gives clergy estate satisfaction equilibrium, but it gives monthly research progress and efficiency of cabinet. So basically this affects your cabinet, which again is really important, and your monthly research progress. So you want to have that juice towards getting those advances before anybody else around you, whilst the other option is just getting really strong armies and having an easier time converting pop. So both of these are good. Truth is, they are really both good. What are you gonna go for? Depends on your playthrough, what exactly you want your country to be about. This also is a result of feedback from the Tinto Talks about Islam. He says that this is all you're doing, guys, so good work. I'm glad to see this. This is huge, actually. We see it over here for the Chinese too. We have some values, Sinicized and unsinicized. Basically more Chinese or less Chinese basically was what that is right there. So expect a lot of or some unique values to specific nations that basically pertain to either their religion or whatever tag they might be, culture they might have and such. That's really nice to see as values. I hope they add more values in the future too, because that would be awesome. Now, one thing that really influences your societal values is privileges. I think pretty much about 80% of privileges push you towards a specific type of value. So in the case of building rights, it will give you monthly progress to plutocracy, right? That's not the only thing though. Aside from estate privileges, reforms for the government also push you towards certain values. Your cabinet members can be used to push you towards certain values, and buildings even do it. There's so many things that will define what type of values your country has. They mention also here laws, which are fundamental in shaping your nation's future. They dictate how your country functions. Laws are categorized into different areas: religious, military, estate, but there's a lot more than that. Colonial laws and so on. We see administrative law policy here. Absolute rule gives crown power, and again, it gives you progress towards a specific value. Absolutism or decentralization or aristocracy. Almost all of these interactions with your country will define what kind of a country you are. So the thing is, your play style, whether you like to play tall more or whether you like to play wide, and the options you go for, oh, I like to play wide, I'm going to go for this law or this estate or this privilege simply because I like to get the admin efficiency, or I like to get the morale of armies or whatever the schnitzel I need in order to fund my expansion, right? That will lead you towards a certain value when you go for that option. So without even, hear me out, right? What I like to do when I was playing EU5, I like to just play my game, don't look at my values, don't try to influence my values, and by the 1650s, I would check my values to see what exactly they look like without me influencing them, to see what kind of a player I am, right? To see what kind of play style I approached, and a lot of the times it was about the same because I always had the same play style when I played as the Byzantines or whoever I played as, right? Government reforms represent your government, and we see here the Anatolian Beylik, which is really powerful, gives an extra cabinet seat from day one, which is huge, an extra possible government reform, so you can have an extra reform compared to anybody else. Unjustified war on same religion cost minus 25%, which is insane. So you get cheaper no CB wars as the Ottomans and the other Beyliks, which is wild because no CB is by far the best CB, everybody knows. Non-culture levy size plus 25 is also huge because early on levies are going to be really important, and having the ability to recruit more levies from your non-accepted cultures is massive, because you're probably going to have more than 50% of your country as Greeks or whatever other ethnicity, so you're going to be able to recruit those units alongside your Turkic units, which is insane. We have also the Crown of Castile here, which gives manpower plus 10%, that is huge. Monthly legitimacy, as well as progress towards aristocracy. Ability to change policy 25% cheaper, that means it costs 25% less stability. French feudal nobility gives cultures capacity, which is really important too, because you have a lot of different cultures in France. It's good to have them all accepted if possible. Diplomatic capacity, because you have a lot of subjects, and the more subjects you have, the more diplomatic capacity they're gonna take. You do have progress towards serfdom plus 0.2, which is a massive debuff, so eventually you will want to get rid of the French feudal nobility once you're past the feudal age, which is after the first 100 years. You really don't want to have this anymore, you know? And you have the ability to have appanages, which you start with from day one. This is what it looks like when you do institute a reform for your country. You have, again, your values. Some don't have values, not all of them. Look at this. Trade office network does not give a value, but it does give, of course, its own bonuses: diplomatic trade range and foreign building cost reduction, because you do have the ability to build in other countries if you have certain prerequisites met, of course. Another government reform is the religious tolerance. It increases tolerance of heathens and heretics. It also gives communalism and humanist progress. We see here the dynastic signoria, or the signoria, which is options that the Republic of Florence have. The difference is pretty significant. Noble levy size, estate enrichment, possible government reform, so this is basically free, as well as monthly prestige. So signoria is the default one. Dynastic signoria is unique to the Florentines, so obviously you want to go for the dynastic one. I think some other nations have dynastic signoria too, though, not just the Florentines. I might be wrong. Now, the estates are divided in 4. Technically, could be more or less than that. So we got the nobility, clergy, burghers, and commoners. There are unique ones such as the dhimmi for the Muslims. They are represented right here, and you get the, when you click the little plus, you can add privileges to your estates. The little coin icon basically gives them a flat 10% loyalty instantly, but it will start going down towards the equilibrium. So if you have less equilibrium than your current loyalty, it will start taking towards that. Remember that the equilibrium is shown right here. Basically, right now the nobility has 50% loyalty. It will slowly tick towards 60%, so it will increase because the equilibrium is at 60%. The equilibrium is influenced by a lot of things. It's influenced by stability, it's influenced by prestige, it's influenced by legitimacy, it's influenced by the privileges that you give out. Some privileges increase, some privileges decrease your estate loyalty equilibrium, so keep that in mind. Is it not loyalty? Is it satisfaction now called? Yes, it's satisfaction. My bad. I keep calling it up to EU4 terms, my apologies. We see here for the Abrahamic communities estate privilege, it will lower the clergy estate satisfaction. It will, however, lower unrest by 10%, which is a significant amount, but it also means you cannot convert those particular pops. Pop conversion speed minus 100% is brutal, that's for sure. Look at what the estates look like for Yuan at the start of the campaign. So we have the nobility, the burghers, the clergy, the commoners, and the tribes. I'm assuming that one is the last one is. Free mobility for the common people, allow people to migrate and laborers to migrate, as well as it increases progress for free subject, but it lowers the nobility estate satisfaction equilibrium by 5%. If you hover over pretty much anything, it tells you what exactly is influencing that particular modifier. So what's making it go up to 89 or 60 or 20%, right? As well as the impact that that particular satisfaction has. So having high satisfaction with the clergy means you get monthly research progress as well as diplomatic reputation. Now, the parliaments, guys, is one of the most powerful thing in the game that really, in my opinion, should be a little bit nerfed. And by a little, I mean a lot. You can do a lot of things with your parliament. You have parliament request. When you call the parliament, you select the location where it should happen, and then you have different issues. You can ask them to prepare for war, which will give you a CB on a nation. You can ask for larger levies. You can ask them to change your law, which means that you're going to be able to change law without paying an insane amount of stability. You can request additional taxes. Whatever the case, it will really benefit you. So you want to be calling parliament as soon as it's possible to call it, because you always want to make use of the various bonuses that it offers. Crown power is basically how much power you have. That's the player, right? You are technically the crown in comparison to the other estates that are also in your country. So you're kind of in rivalry with the estates, but you're basically working together. We see here relative power is 20% for whichever nation they're playing as right now. That's because of 480 out of 2,300 political power. That's influenced by the population, legitimacy, reforms, values, estate privileges. A lot of things influence this, including the ruler's administrative ability. So a ruler with high admin is probably the most preferred type of ruler in the game. Low crown power below 25 gives debuffs, including tax efficiency reduction, efficiency of cabinet reduction. Changing policies a lot more expensive, whilst the opposite is true for when it's above 25%. There are advances that increase your crown power, such as absolute rulership here increases by 50%. If you have high crown power, we see in the late game, this is what it looks like. You've got 94,000 out of 150,000 because of your 43 million population. These are the things that influence it, right? So 62% crown power, by the way, is crazy high. That's because of centralization. So you have full centralization in your values. Absolutism, you have full absolutism. You got the absolutist courts, which is an advance from H5, absolutist rulership, statecraft, cuius regio, nation, neo-Confucianism. So these are all advances. Then you have the House of Parliament, royal court, autocracy reform, head of cabinet also gives you more crown power. Favor the ruler, absolute rule, which are laws, and the admin ability of your ruler. So all of that influences this, and it means you have an insane amount of crown power. This really got me very hyped. I'm not gonna lie, for more development diaries to see what else they tell us, because this is juicy as schnitzel. I like to see a lot of the changes. I can definitely tell they've been listening to the community a lot, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to use my link if you want to get the game for yourself, or you want to get any Paradox game. Link in description. Till the next time, love you, take care of yourself.